Hello, and welcome to the From the Shadows podcast. I am the producer, Jason Lewis. I would like to thank you for tuning in to the From the Shadows podcast. And without further ado, here is your host, Shane Grove.
Welcome, everybody. This is Shane Grove, host of the From the Shadows podcast. I am with the Ozark Howler.
Ow! No, I don't know if I should howl,
And I'm with super producer Jason.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, and thanks. If you're wondering what the heck is this showing up in my my podcast feed, this is a new little thing we're going to do. It's called 10 minutes, or what would we call it? Short stories with the Howler.
Short stories.
Yeah, short stories with the Ozark Howler.
Short stories of the Ozark Howler. So you got 5 or 10 minutes in the middle of your week. We're going to bring you a little story from the Howler, and hopefully it'll tickle your funny bones, make you feel good about yourself, give you something to look forward to, tide you over till our regular episode drops on Friday. So thanks for checking us out, and let us know what you think. We hope you enjoy the Howler, spending 10 minutes with the Howler as much as we do.
Enjoy, everybody.
Yeah, I kind of misspoke on that first story because the dude was more crazier than the women, and I did that because I had some stories wrote down here, but I had to pick and choose because I didn't want the listener to think that all the women down in the country are crazy.
Well, yeah.
And the next story had this crazy gal in it, and she was kind of heavy. And I know I told a story the other day about a heavy gal, so I'm going to get off the heavy gals.
Okay.
And I'm working one day, and they say, hey, it was a 9/11, and they got 911 call. They do a plectron that tones out fire and ambulance and different tones. I never was a fireman, so I don't know. But true firemen can tell who they're calling by the tone. You know what I mean? Rescue 3, Ladder 1, all these weird stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when you hear that plectron, that's what's called. You'd hear that plectron, you'd listen. So I'm listening, sitting there one day, and then they got a plectron, and it's toning out an ambulance and then a fire truck and then the police, the local police, to a trailer park. And they are a common feature in places that and at trailer parks. And then this one is long gone, but at that time it was a giant trailer park. And the call, the 911 dispatcher, when she's routing these people, she said, well, there's a woman that's ran into the house, trailer house, in a I think it was a Pontiac Grand Am or Grand Prix. This is back in the early 90s. And she keeps doing it. And the first cop goes, what do you mean she keeps doing it? Well, the caller says she's ran into the trailer and she's backed up and she's hit it 2 or 3 more times. So it was like an ongoing. So they tone out like it's an accident. So now they're toning me out, sending me there because the locals don't work wrecks. They want a state trooper to work a wreck. So, of course, I'm driving out there thinking, first of all, I'm going to see what kind of deal that's happening, So we get out there, and this old gal, she's drunk, and she hit this trailer 2 or 3 times. She was trying to run over her old man, and he ran into the house, and she took apart the front porch and underpinning. Her problem is the car was so low, every time she hit the trailer, it just pushed the underpinning underneath a little more. You know what I mean? Because she had a low car and a tall trailer. So it just wasn't lining up with her. So she hit it 3 or 4 times. Now, a trailer house would stop a Pontiac, but her old man's Silverado did. She ran it. The final thing she hit was a Silverado, and it I don't think it set the airbag off. Maybe it was the airbag. It disabled the car. Okay. So she was able to run this trailer house 3 or 4 times, but when she hit the truck, it disabled the car. So, of course, I get out there, and what's odd is this truck was a red and silver two-tone like 91 Chevrolet. And, as I've said on before, I'm a kind of a car/truck guy. And my very first truck was a 1979 Scottsdale, silver and maroon two-tone. And this was, this truck was 10 years newer. It was new, totally different body style, but it had that two-tone paint job that my truck had when I was 16. And there wasn't a lot of them, in the 90s. There just wasn't a lot of them. So anyway, I proceeded to arrest her actually, I think my corporal was with me and he arrested her. But all that to say is we took her to jail for DWI, but we didn't really work the wreck because it wasn't a wreck. It was an on purpose. We only worked accidents. On purposes are a whole different form. On purposes are criminal acts. And she's a little bitty, about 4'11", 5 foot, about 95 pounds, just what you would think an old drunk woman would be, So fast forward week or 2, month later, a short period of time later, I'm working by myself, and then they toned me out for possible DWI driving northbound on the big highway. That's what we call it, the big highway, big 4-lane highway northbound, and the vehicle description was red over gray or gray over red. I don't remember which it was. 2-tone Chevrolet pickup. And in my head, I thought I instantly thought about the truck at the trailer park because, there's very few of them. So anyway, I jumped down there. I sit in the turnaround, and here she come. And I tell you who she reminded me of. Did you ever see what was the old Clint Eastwood movie, Every Which Way But Loose, or the orangutan movies?
Yeah.
Where he had Ma. It had Ma. Remember?
Yeah.
It had a little old woman that looked like Granny on
Beverly Hillbillies.
Beverly Hillbillies. I was going to say the Clan. Yeah. So a little bit younger version, but that's what we're dealing with. A little bitty. So I've turned on the red and blues, and she immediately pulls over, and as I'm getting out of my car, she gets out, and she's kind of combative with me. What do you want now? I'm almost home. And I said, well, how much you had to drink? Sue, or whatever her name is, I need you to see your driver's license. Well, you guys took it. So she's handing me the piece of paper that my corporal gave her earlier. You know what I mean? She don't even have a license to hand me because they took it and they gave her that paper receipt. And I think that was what you'd call the trigger. Now's generation, they'd call the trigger. I think the paper receipt was what her trigger deal, because she started going nuts on me. I'm minding my own business, and you MFers, and I'm trying to get my life straight, and everybody keeps me down, and just on and on. So I asked her, I said, hey, I need you to do some of these sobriety tests. Hey, can you say your alphabet? Screw you. Can you count for me? You know what I mean? I said, screw you. And it goes on and on. So finally she says, I'm tired of effing with you. I'm getting back in my car.
Oh, man. Okay.
Now I went off on the traffic stop, but I don't remember, at some point I called for another car. And when I called for another car, it was more for a witness thing. Because when you go arresting women, and you always want women or witnesses. So anyhow, she says screw you and starts walking back to her truck, and she's kind of out in the highway, because you're walking on that white line. It's called the fog line. She can't walk on it because she's drunk. So I grab her, and she's trying to pull away, and now we got 70-mile-an-hour traffic going boom boom by. You know what I mean? So it's the other place you screw around. It's a safety issue. So I got a half-ass manhandler and get her back over on the side of the road. And I'm fighting a 5'1", I'm fighting this little bitty woman, and I'm trying not to be, and I'm a pretty big old boy, and of course then I'd use my lapel mic, send me another car, and all this came out because I had audio recorder, but I didn't have a video recorder, so I had audio recorder that I'd keep and I'd turn on when I was dealing with people, and they mocked me, my sergeant mocked the hell out of me, Because what happened is people started stopping on the highway, big trucks were construction workers. Hey, Trooper, you need some help, and and they'd take off, and somebody else take off. Because what happens to these little bitty people like this? My cuffs bottomed out, which means they ran out of clicks, and she can still get her hand out of it. So you can't even handcuff her. You know what I mean? And I end up half-ass sitting on her, on the side of the road while these and some women are enablers. When I say enablers, because they get handled so lightly, her whole life, she was just nuts on me. But to her detriment, the first car that pulled up was a county mountie, a deputy that was a woman.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not going to go down that road, but I could go down that road a long way. But when the women show up with a gun and badge, you better start getting your stuff straight, because they, especially back in them days, they will put their cigarette out and come out there and smack you around, especially if you're. So this female deputy brought this woman to her level quick, or brought her under and was zip tied her. That's back when zip ties. So zip tied this woman, but yeah, fighting a crazy woman on the highway, and like I said, I had all these people stopping. You need help, Trooper? You need help, Trooper?
Well, since you mentioned, before we shut off with this story, I just want to tell everybody the woman from Every Which Way But Loose was Ruth Gordon, played Ma, won an Emmy Award for a role in Taxi, and guess what? She shares a birthday with me.
Are you serious?
Yeah, same birthday.
Well,
Except she was born in 1896. so she's a little bit older than me.
She was born in 1896, so she was 80-some years old when she was doing the movies.
She died in 1985 at age 88.
Yeah, so she was in her early 80s. She worked to the end. Good for her.
Yeah, she had a career in silent film to begin with, and then had a resurgence in the 70s and 80s. How about that?
Yeah.
That's some good fun facts right there.
That's right. That's what this is all about. This show's all about that. It's giving you a couple of minutes out of your busy day to just think it could be worse. I mean, you could be getting manhandled by a woman cop out on the side of the highway somewhere, going to jail.
Yep.
Your life ain't that bad.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, a final word. Please visit us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/From the Shadows Podcast, and on our Instagram page at instagram.com/From the Shadows Podcast. You can visit our webpage at FromTheShadowsPodcast.GoDaddySites.com, or contribute to our Facebook discussion page called After the Shadows, and tweet us on our Twitter feed at twitter.com/podcast_from. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you all. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.